Welcome to Wava Sandwire. Today we're talking about Solehah Yaacob's defense of the claim that ancient Romans may have learned specific shipbuilding techniques from Malay seafarers. Now, the initial reaction to this was, well, pretty intense, let's say. But what we're looking at today isn't just an off-the-cuff remark. We have the detailed academic defense she presented. It's quite complex.
That's right. And it's really important to frame this correctly. This is being put forward as a serious research hypothesis. It's something she's apparently been working on since way back in 2005. The whole argument rests heavily on classical Arabic sources, cross-referenced with Roman history. So our task today is really to unpack how she builds that case.
Okay.
Connecting, nautical skills, resource needs, and some specific historical geography.
Right, let's start with that foundation then, because she draws a stark contrast from the get-go. Malays is fundamentally maritime.
Yeah.
Europeans is more continental, focused inward.
Precisely. That's the bedrock. The argument is that Malays were already recognized masters of the sea with superior knowledge, deep-sea skills. Think P.Y. Mangwin's work on Southeast Asian ships, for example. Their whole world was organized around the oceans, navigating the monsoons across the Indian Ocean. That's a totally different game than, say, sailing the Med.
And this mastery is set against Roman limitations.
Yeah.
We think of Roman legions, sure, but their early navy wasn't really about crossing vast oceans, was it?
Not really, no. Their navy was, for a long time, strategic. Moving troops, controlling the Mediterranean, Mare Nostrum, our sea, as they called it.
Right.
They weren't really doing major international deep ocean sailing until things changed dramatically after 31 BCE.
31 BCE. Axiom. The conquest of Egypt. Why is that date so key here?
Well, because that's when Rome gets direct control over the trade routes flowing into the Indian Ocean network. Before that, their ships were, well, different, often heavier, built for ramming, designed for shorter coastal routes. They just didn't have the tech or the need for true oceanic sailing.
So they lacked the specific expertise required for those long, tough voyages.
Exactly. Which leads us to the core idea, the technology transfer. If Malays had the superior know-how, what was so different about their ships that Rome might have needed?
Yeah, what's the specific technique?
Okay, so this often gets lost. The argument highlights differences in construction. Roman ships often used mortise and tenon joints, lots of metal nails, heavy timbers. Strong, yes, but also very rigid and heavy.
And the Malay approach.
Often more flexible. Sometimes techniques like stitching planks together, or importantly, using wooden dowels and pegs instead of iron nails. This flexibility, plus using better tropical hardwoods, made their ships lighter, more resilient. Better suited for the stresses of the open ocean, the monsoons,
Ah, okay. So lighter, more flexible, better suited for long distances on rough seas.
Right. If Rome wanted to reliably sail those deep-sea routes, especially into the Indian Ocean, accessing that kind of flexible engineering would be, well, very useful.
That makes sense technologically. But why couldn't Rome just, say, hire skilled Greek or Egyptian sailors already within their empire? Why specifically look towards the Malay world?
And that's where the argument makes a crucial pivot. It shifts from shipbuilding itself to resources.
Resources?
Yes, from who built better boats to what did Rome absolutely need to get from far away. The defense points to the European demand for high-quality iron.
Iron for conquest. Not just Rome, she mentions Vikings, Slavs too, needing top-tier metal for swords, armor.
Exactly. It's about military power. This need, she argues, connects these seemingly distant empires.
Okay, so how does that link specifically to the Malay world?
Through trade records, specifically classical Arabic sources, which were meticulously documenting trade routes and goods at the time. They mention this high-quality metal. There are specific terms used like al-Qala al-Rumi,
Which means?
literally the Roman sword of Qala, or sometimes al-Sharbuqan. These terms suggest a recognized connection between the end user Rome and a specific source, Qalai.
Kala. So the crucial question is, where was Kala? If this iron was vital for Roman military might.
We need to pinpoint it. And here, the defense relies on classical Islamic scholars, geographers, and philosophers mapping the world. People like al-Biruni noted specialized iron smelting happening in Qalai, and crucially, the philosopher al-Kindi placed Qala specifically in ancient Kedah.
Ancient Kedah, modern-day Malaysia.
Correct. That geographical link is key to the argument.
So let's connect the dots. Romans need this specific high-quality Kedah iron for their military. Their own ships aren't really up to the task of consistently getting there and back across the Indian Ocean.
Right. European timber wasn't ideal for those conditions, lacked the resilience of tropical woods, didn't suit the flexible construction needed.
Which leads to the conclusion that they had to seek external help.
That's the proposed technological necessity. They likely needed experienced navigators, maybe even shipbuilding knowledge, from those who could make the journey reliably. Egyptians, Indians, or, the argument posits, Malays to guide them to Kedah for that vital iron.
Wow, okay. That really shifts the dynamic, doesn't it? It's not just Rome trading, it's Rome potentially being technologically reliant on Malay expertise for a critical military resource.
It definitely reframes the interaction, and this idea of superior Malay seafaring skill isn't isolated. There's supporting evidence cited, like museum archives in Australia apparently noting Austronesia as the origin of the finest deep-sea shipbuilders.
Let's touch on identity, too, because the choice of the word Malay is deliberate here, rather than just Austronesian.
Yes, she tackles that directly. The argument is that Austronesian is a much later term, 19th century European Orientalist coinage. Whereas during the Srivijaya Empire, the great maritime Malay kingdom, these people were already known as Malays.
So it implies a continuous identity, a long lineage of this specific maritime skill.
Exactly. It connects the historical expertise directly to the Malay identity, suggesting an ancient, unbroken tradition of navigation and exploration.
You can see how this resonates with local historical narratives, too, like old newspaper claims about a Malay being the first to circumnavigate the globe. It speaks to a deep cultural pride in seafaring.
Absolutely. It's about establishing not just a technical skill, but a recognized cultural identity tied to maritime mastery that existed long before and maybe even enabled interactions with major Western powers.
Okay, so hearing this whole structure laid out the limits of Roman ships and timber, the specific military need for Kedah's Kal iron, the location pinpointed by Arabic sources, the distinct Malay shipbuilding techniques. What for you is the strongest part of this hypothesis, if you had to pick one element?
That's tough. But I think the triangulation is the most compelling part. You've got the specific vital resource, Kalau iron, geographically located in ancient Kedah. Then you have the documented limitations of Roman shipbuilding for that specific type of long-distance open ocean voyage. That gap creates a plausible necessity. It's not just vague cultural exchange, it's a specific problem getting vital military supplies needing a specific solution, potentially involving external expertise or technology transfer.
It does present a much more structured, academically grounded case than perhaps the initial headline suggested.
Right. And that seems to be the core motivation behind this detailed defense. The lecturer explicitly stated she hopes presenting these clarifications ends the slander, insult, disinformation, and ridicule and brings the discussion back to an academic level.
A call for focusing on the research rather than the controversy. Before we wrap up, let's just think about the bigger picture here for a moment.
Okay.
What's the final thought you'd leave our listeners with on this?
Well, if we accept the premise, even just hypothetically, if ancient Kedah really was the source of iron sought after by powers as big and distant as Rome, maybe even the Vikings, what does that truly imply about the economic weight, the technological sophistication, and the strategic importance of the Malay archipelago, centuries before Europeans arrived in force? It suggests this region wasn't on the periphery. It was potentially a crucial hub in global resource chains and advanced production. It really could shift our perspective on its role in world history.
A very powerful thought to consider. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.